Imagine standing on the edge of a world where one step could take you into an endless sunrise, and one more could plunge you into eternal night. This is Mercury, the smallest planet in our solar system, the closest planet to the Sun, and one of the most terrifying places nature has ever created. From millions of kilometers away, Mercury looks calm, a silent gray sphere drifting peacefully around a brilliant star. It almost resembles our moon, scarred by ancient impacts, frozen in time, beautiful in its simplicity. But that peaceful appearance is a lie. This planet exists in a realm where survival is impossible, a place where the sun dominates everything, where every second brings a battle between unimaginable heat and impossible cold. Mercury races around the sun at nearly 50 kilometers every second, completing an entire year in only 88 Earth days. Yet strangely, its days last much longer than its years. If you stood on its surface, you would watch the sun crawl across the sky so slowly that daylight would seem almost endless. There is almost no atmosphere here. No blue sky, no clouds, no wind. Nothing to soften the sun's relentless fury. Above you stretches a perfect black sky, even at noon, where distant stars remain visible while the sun burns brighter than anything your eyes were ever meant to witness. As the sunlight strikes the ground, the temperature climbs beyond 400 degrees Celsius. Hot enough to melt lead. Hot enough to destroy nearly every material humans have ever built. The rocks themselves glow with stored heat after months of continuous sunlight. But Mercury hides a secret that sounds impossible. Turn away from the sunlight. Cross into the darkness that has not seen dawn for months. Within only a short distance, the temperature crashes below minus 180 degrees Celsius. Cold enough to freeze gases solid. Cold enough to shatter metal like fragile glass. On one side of this planet, fire rules everything. On the other, ice never dies. And somehow, both worlds exist only a few kilometers apart. This is not science fiction. This is the real Mercury. A planet balanced between two impossible extremes, where every horizon marks the boundary between unbearable heat and absolute frozen silence. And this is only the beginning. Now imagine your spacecraft begins its descent. Outside the window, Mercury grows larger with every passing second. Craters stretch for thousands of kilometers. Jagged cliffs slice across the landscape like scars left by an ancient catastrophe. There are no oceans, no rivers, no signs of life. Only endless rock shaped by billions of years of violent impacts. As your landing engines fire, something immediately feels wrong. There is no atmosphere to slow your descent. On Earth, air cushions a spacecraft as it falls. On Mars, even the thin atmosphere helps reduce speed. But Mercury offers nothing. No air resistance, no parachutes. Every kilogram of your spacecraft must be slowed entirely by its engines. One mistake, one failed burn, and you slam into the surface at incredible speed. The engines roar. Dust erupts beneath you, but not like dust on Earth. Without air, the fine gray particles shoot outward in perfect ballistic arcs before falling silently back to the ground. There is no swirling cloud, no wind carrying debris away. Every grain moves exactly as gravity commands. Then, silence. Not the peaceful silence of a quiet night. Absolute silence. Your boots touch the surface, yet you hear nothing outside your suit. No breeze, no distant rumble, no echoes across the craters. Sound cannot travel because there is almost no atmosphere to carry it. Even if a massive boulder crashed only a few meters away, you would never hear it directly. You stand completely alone beneath a sky darker than midnight. Above you hangs the largest sun you have ever seen. From Mercury, the sun appears more than 3 times larger than it does from Earth. Its light is blinding. Its radiation is relentless. Every exposed surface begins absorbing enormous amounts of energy almost instantly. Your cooling systems struggle. Temperature alarms begin flashing. The ground beneath your feet keeps getting hotter. And then you notice something even stranger. Your shadow is razor sharp. There is no soft edge because there is no atmosphere to scatter sunlight. Every rock casts a perfect black silhouette, making the landscape look almost unreal. The horizon shimmers from intense heat, while the sky remains completely black. It feels as if two different universes have collided, one filled with blinding daylight, the other with endless darkness. On Mercury, both exist at the same time, and the longer you remain here, the more dangerous this impossible world becomes. You decide to keep moving. Each step feels strangely light. Mercury's gravity is only about 38% of Earth's. Every stride carries you farther than expected, making the landscape feel almost dreamlike. Massive boulders that would seem impossible to climb on Earth suddenly become manageable. But the illusion doesn't last. Your suit is working harder every minute, not because of gravity, but because of the sun. Mercury has almost no atmosphere to block dangerous radiation. There is no protective blanket like Earth's ozone layer. No thick air to absorb ultraviolet light. No magnetic shield strong enough to defend you from the constant assault of charged particles streaming from the sun. Your visor automatically darkens. Radiation sensors begin climbing. The warnings become more frequent. Invisible energy is passing straight through the emptiness around you, carrying enough power to damage electronics, overwhelm spacecraft systems, and eventually become deadly to human life. Then the impossible happens. Your instruments detect a sudden spike. Far beyond the horizon, the sun erupts. A solar flare explodes into space, releasing billions of tons of superheated plasma. It races across the solar system at incredible speed. On Earth, our magnetic field and atmosphere absorb much of this violence. Here, there is almost nowhere to hide. Within minutes, the radiation level surges. The particles slam into Mercury's weak magnetic field, creating a violent storm of invisible energy. Communication signals begin breaking apart. Navigation systems flicker. Tiny electrical surges ripple through your suit. Your heartbeat accelerates. Mission control can no longer guarantee a safe return. You look toward the horizon. The sun doesn't look different. It still burns with the same blinding brilliance. Yet everything around you has changed. The danger isn't something you can see. It is moving through you, through your spacecraft, through every exposed circuit and every layer of protective shielding. On Mercury, the greatest threat often arrives without a sound, without a warning, and without a single visible sign. And this is why no astronaut has ever walked here. Not because landing is impossible, but because surviving what comes next may be far beyond anything humanity has ever engineered. As the radiation storm slowly begins to fade, another terrifying reality emerges. You check your position. The sun has barely moved. Hours have passed, then days. Yet the shadows around you seem almost frozen. On Earth, the sun rises and sets every 24 hours. On Mercury, time behaves differently. A single sunrise can last for months. This planet rotates so slowly that one full day lasts 176 Earth days. Imagine standing in the same place while the sun hangs above you for months without setting. Every hour, the ground beneath your boots absorbs more heat. Every hour, your cooling systems fight harder. Every hour, survival becomes less likely. Eventually, the rocks around you become hot enough to glow with stored energy. Metal tools become too dangerous to touch. Electronic components begin approaching their operating limits. Even the strongest heat-resistant materials slowly weaken under relentless exposure. Your spacecraft isn't designed to endure this forever. Neither are you. You decide there is only one option. Escape the heat. You begin traveling toward the boundary between day and night, the narrow region scientists call the Terminator. It is the only place where temperatures become remotely manageable. For days, you continue across endless crater fields. Mountains rise from ancient impacts. Gigantic cliffs stretch hundreds of kilometers across the landscape, formed billions of years ago when Mercury's enormous iron core cooled and the entire planet shrank like a drying apple. Nothing changes. No weather, no clouds, no sound. Only silence and rock. Finally, the sunlight begins to weaken. Ahead of you lies darkness. Crossing that invisible line feels like entering another planet. The temperature drops with shocking speed. The glowing rocks disappear. Ice crystals begin forming on parts of your equipment. Every breath inside your suit sounds louder than before. Behind you, the sun still burns with unimaginable intensity. Ahead of you waits a frozen world that has not felt sunlight for months. On Mercury, survival is never guaranteed. If the heat doesn't destroy you, the cold is already waiting. You take one final step into the darkness. The change is immediate. The warmth vanishes from your suit. Frost begins spreading across exposed metal. Every surface around you is locked beneath temperatures colder than the Antarctic winter could ever become. The rocks are no longer glowing with heat. They have become silent blocks of frozen stone beneath a sky filled with stars. And then you discover Mercury's greatest paradox. Hidden inside some of these permanently shadowed craters lies real water ice. It sounds impossible. A planet close enough to the sun to melt metal, yet hiding frozen reservoirs that have survived for billions of years. Because sunlight never reaches the deepest crater floors near Mercury's poles, those regions remain permanently frozen. They are among the coldest places anywhere in the inner solar system. Fire and ice, only a few hundred kilometers apart. No other world creates such an extreme contrast. You stare into one of these endless black craters. The darkness is so complete that even your helmet lights seem to disappear inside it. Temperatures plunge below -180 degrees Celsius. Any exposed equipment rapidly becomes brittle. Batteries lose power. Mechanical parts stiffen. Lubricants freeze. Systems begin shutting down one by one. Your suit is no longer fighting heat. Now it is fighting absolute cold. Every warning light changes color. Every survival system is pushed beyond its limits. You realize something terrifying. There is nowhere on Mercury that truly welcomes life. Move toward the sun, and you burn. Move toward the darkness, and you freeze. Remain in between, and radiation continues to threaten every second of your existence. This planet offers no safe refuge, no forgiving environment, no second chances. Mercury is not simply the closest planet to the sun. It is a reminder that the universe does not need monsters to be terrifying. Sometimes physics alone is enough. As your spacecraft finally lifts away from the frozen horizon, Mercury shrinks into a small gray world once again. Peaceful from a distance, silent, beautiful. But now you know the truth. Behind that calm appearance lies one of the most extreme worlds ever discovered. A place where fire and ice exist side by side, where time moves differently, and where a single mistake would mean there is no rescue and no return. As Mercury disappears into the darkness of space, one question refuses to leave your mind. How can a planet so small become one of the most hostile places in the entire solar system? The answer is surprisingly simple. Mercury doesn't need poisonous clouds like Venus. It doesn't need hurricanes larger than Earth like Jupiter. It doesn't need frozen methane seas or endless dust storms. Its greatest weapon is balance. A balance so extreme that life can never find a place to survive. Stand too close to the sun, and temperatures climb high enough to destroy almost anything humans can build. Take only a journey into permanent shadow, and the cold becomes just as deadly. Above you, invisible radiation pours through space with almost nothing to stop it. Below you, billions of years of impacts have left a landscape that has remained almost unchanged since the birth of the solar system. Mercury is a world that remembers the beginning. Every crater is a page from cosmic history. Every cliff marks the slow shrinking of a cooling planet. Every frozen crater hides a secret that shouldn't exist. And every sunrise lasts so long that it completely changes the meaning of time itself. When we look at Mercury through telescopes, it seems quiet, almost forgotten. Overshadowed by giant planets, colorful rings, and distant icy moons. But sometimes the quietest places hide the greatest extremes. Mercury reminds us that the universe isn't dangerous because it hates us. It is dangerous because it follows its own laws without mercy. Heat, cold, radiation, vacuum, gravity. None of them care whether anyone survives. And perhaps that's what makes Mercury so unforgettable. It isn't a world built for exploration. It's a world built to show us how fragile life really is. The next time you look towards the sunrise on Earth, remember that somewhere beyond the glare, a tiny grey planet circles endlessly through silence, one side burning beneath an endless day, the other frozen beneath an endless night. A place where fire and ice exist together. A place where nature pushed physics to its absolute limits. And a place that proves the smallest planet can sometimes tell the bigger story.